Hi, hello, vanakkam, and welcome to Little Slaw YouTube channel. And this is me, Yavasan Shanmugam. So, in this video, we are going to see about another plugin, which is the inter-thread communication plugin. So, what is an inter-thread communication and how to use an inter-thread communication is what we are going to see today in this video. So, before we move on, I request you all to subscribe to our channel if you have not subscribed yet. Please like, comment, and send your feedbacks in the comment section. So first let's go to the JMeter plugins.org where we find the plugins, and there is other option. We have already seen that in our previous video on how to install or how to set up the plugins. So let's search for the interconnected. So here we could see the inter-thread communication, and to download that we have to click and let's download the latest one. So now we have downloaded and we have our latest thread communication. So I have already installed it, and in case if you have not installed it, you can check it in the options under plugins manager, where you can search for internet communication if you have not installed it yet, or if you have not installed it through your JMeter plugins manager, we can extract the file and you can copy paste it inside the folders which I have demoed already. So without wasting any time, let's move on to how does this inter-thread communication works. So this inter-thread communication is a kind of a global string queues that is being provided in JMeter. So these queues work in first in first out manner. So you can put a string value into a queue from one thread and then get that value from another thread, and even this works with another thread group. So you give a value in one thread group and get that value, or get that value outside in another thread group, and this allows us to have separate thread groups with synchronization and parameter passing between them. So we can even pass the parameters between one thread group to the other thread group, and there may be any number of first in first outs and they differ by the queue name. So let's see that with a valid example, and that will help you to understand how does this work. And for that, let's have a test plan. So under the test plan, let us add a thread group. So let me name it as thread group 1. So this is the thread group that is going to send the value to the second thread group 2, and thread group 2 is going to display the value. And under the thread group, let us add a HTTP request. So to add a HTTP request, I have to go to the sampler and then the second option, which is the HTTP request. And under this HTTP request, what I'm going to do is I'm going to fetch a value from Google. So I'm giving this google.com as the server name, and the HTTP request is get. So I'm getting a value, I'm just extracting a value from the Google, and under this I'm adding a parameter. So what I'm going to extract is I'm going to extract a cookie value from the Google, and I'm adding a value here. First in first out, get cookies got cookie. So this is the parameter that we are going to extract from Google. And now let's move on to the next sample. So what I'm going to add next is I'm going to extract the value. So we all know how to extract values. So to extract values, we have to use a regular expression extractor. So now we have added a regular expression extractor, and let's make some changes in the regular expression extractor now. So let's define the values for the regular expression extractor. So where are we going to extract it? So what section? So we are going to extract the value from the response header. It is not in the body or it's not in the request header, we are going to get the value from the response header. Just remember this, in this value that we're going to extract is from the response header. And now let's create the variable that we want to extract. So we will create the name of the variable as cookie, and then the regular expression extractor is going to be set cookie. So this is the left boundary and it's going to be the right boundary, and we are setting the regular expression extractor for this. And then the template is going to be $1, which is the first occurrence, and then the match number is going to be 0 and the default value is failed. What if the value is not been found? Then we are giving it as failed. And then let's now add the inter-thread communication post processor. So this is very important step in it. So let's go to the post processor and let's add the inter-thread communication post processor. So what is this going to do? So this is going to put some data into the communication pipe. So what we are doing is we are extracting the cookie, and then we are sending the cookie in here. So this is going to be the out. So we are sending the extracted value through this place. So we are going to extract and we are going to send it through this post processor. So let's give the value here. So this is the value that we are extracting in the previous regular expression extractor, and we are going to send it through the post processor. So now let us create another thread group, that is a thread group 2, where we are going to receive the value. So we will make it as thread group 2. So under this thread group we'll add a HTTP raw request. So now let us add the raw request under the second thread group, where we are going to display the value which we receive from the thread group 1. So for that we'll have to go to the sampler and we have to open, or we have to add the HTTP raw request. Again, this is another plugin which we have to install, and for that this is the name. So if we go under the plugins, we can install the HTTP raw request. So what are we going to do, or what are we going to give in the raw request is, so first thing is going to be the code.google.com is where we are going to hit, or we are going to hit our request, and the time mode is going to be just, we'll keep it as 30,000 for now, 30,000 milliseconds, and then let's keep the connection open, like we do not want to make any changes in it. And the request data is the very important one. So what we're going to do is, like, we're going to get the value from, so this is the expression we have for this. And then the host is going to be the code.google.com, and then the connection is to be closed by default, and finally cookie. So this is where we are going to get the value and display the value in here. So got cookie. So if you remember, we have kept this value in the previous HTTP request. So here we can see that the value is going to be sent from the got cookie. So here we can see we have two values, one is the cookies and the next one is got cookie. So this is where we are getting the value here. So the got cookie is the parameter that we are going to pass it to the HTTP raw request. And finally, to get the value successfully from the post processor, we need a pre-processor. So the pre-processor is in here under the pre-processors and under the add. So go to the preprocessor and add the preprocessor. So here we have the preprocessor, and this is what is going to get the value in here. So this actually reads the data from the pipe from the previous one, and this sends the value out. So we'll send it as got cookie. So if you remember, this is the value that we are going to display it under the cookie parameter. So let's keep the timeout to 60. And the final one is we are going to add a view results tree to see the values or how does they work. So now we have finally completed all the changes. So what we have did is we have created a thread group, and under the thread group we have created a HTTP request where we have created a parameter, and with this parameter we are getting the values, which is the cookies and then the got cookie, and this is the values which are going to pass it to the other thread group. And then we have this regular expression extractor where we extract the values which is with this set cookie. And then we have this inter-thread communication processor which puts some data into the communication pipe, and the inter-thread communication preprocessor is what is where we are going to read the pipe data from the pipe. So the post processor puts the value and the preprocessor reads the value, and we have this HTTP raw request where we display the value in here, or where we pass it as a response, as a request, and then we get the response. So let's now run the test and see how does it work. So here we have got one thread with 5 loop count, and then the same way we have got 5 users who reads the values once. Let us run this test and see how does it work. And here we can see the HTTP request. So this is the request. If you remember, we are sending this as the HTTP, the server name, and that is the request here. And then the Q as the value here. If you remember, we have got this parameter which we have defined it here, which is the Q, and this Q is being sent along with the request. And then we have got the response data where we could see a huge amount of responses. But then if you remember, we are extracting the value from the response header and not from the response body. So this is where we get the cookie, and this is the value that is being passed to all the HTTP raw request. And here we can see that the value, so for the first request that we have got here, the response data, the response header which ends with N, capital W and small w, and when it comes to this first request in the thread group 2, the thread group 2, sorry, so the thread group 2, you can see the request body which contains the same value. So what we did is we are sending a value from one thread group to the other thread group. So if you again see here, so in the response data and the response header, we can see KNWW, and that is a value that is being passed as the request here. So the value that we are extracting it from the previous thread group is being passed as a response. The response which we have got from the previous thread group is being sent as a request to the next thread group. So we are extracting a value and we are passing that value through a pipe connection, and then we are reading it through the other pipe connection in another thread group. So until we meet you in another interesting video, it's bye bye from Vasan Shanmugam and Little's Law.